Hello. This is going to be a pretty quick video, I think, because really, I just want to encourage you to look into a movie called Inu-Oh. I'm gonna go with Inu-Oh. This is the name of the movie, and it has apparently been making the festival rounds already, or maybe that was end of last year, I'm not quite sure. And it's only now getting US theatrical distribution via G-Kids, because of course it's gonna be G-Kids. And one of the big reasons that I'm looking forward to this movie and why I want to encourage some other people to check it out is because it comes from a director and an animator who I happen to really admire, whose name is Masaaki Yuasa. I've been following Yuasa's work for a little while now. I think one of my first bits of exposure to his work was Cat Soup. For one thing, Cat Soup is one of the best pieces of animation that maybe I've just ever seen. His name gets attached to that project. In fact, I think you can find the whole short on YouTube, and it has his name in the title. He wasn't the director. He was not the director of Cat Soup. He was, he did the boards for it. He storyboarded everything, apparently. He has a screenplay credit on it as well, but he was not the director, so I don't know the mythology behind that, if he sort of took over, if people just like to hero worship and they're like, oh look, I recognize this name I like on this project, I will just assume he did all the stuff I like. Probably not the case, but anyway, that's one of the most famous Yuasa projects perhaps, or at least in my mind. If you've seen a series called Devilman Crybaby on Netflix, that is a Yuasa-led project, as far as I understand. He worked as an animator on My Neighbors the Yamadas, which I've actually never watched, but I'll get around to eventually, but very famous anime movie. I mean, he's worked on a million things, basically, so it wouldn't be that useful to list everything out. But in terms of other sort of significant projects that we especially might have noticed here in the West, Yuasa was also a guest animator for the Adventure Time episode, Food Chain. If you remember seeing that episode, I think it was one of the first times that Adventure Time invited a guest animator, and so it was just, I think they set a precedent that those episodes were non-canon. Basically, insane things happened in them, and especially visually in Food Chain, completely different feel to the rest of the show. I really like that episode still. I rewatch it quite a bit. Also, Kick Heart was I think it was a kick-started animation short film project that Yuasa led, and I think you can also watch all of that on YouTube, or you can find it somewhere. Another just excellent example of what I assume is his unique artistic voice. Like, the line work in a lot of his stuff seems to just be absolutely fantastic. You're almost worried that the lines will kind of lose their way and fall apart during some shots or certain movements, but it's always there. It's always very readable, but like, I don't know, characters have this interesting like flexibility about them. Everything's very exaggerated. He does a ton of stuff with like perspective and foreshortening, what would be considered, I guess, interesting lensing choices in live action film. Inu-Oh is the new movie from Yuasa. It's important to note that, well, for one thing, I haven't watched everything that this dude has ever worked on. That would be kind of insane. But also, he's not a filmmaker who, or an animator who I feel like is always hitting home runs. I mean, I tried to watch Devilman Crybaby, did not really click with me at all. Also, he directed this movie called Lou Over the Wall, which I guess has Netflix original branding at this point, so that's where you can watch it. But really not great. Like, visually, the character of his work is still there, the special quality of it, but oh my god, in terms of like story, right, not great. I'm not saying go check out this movie because it's a sure thing. I'm saying check out this movie because at the very least, I think it'll be pretty interesting. As for the premise here, is that, well, I'll just read some of the marketing copy maybe. From visionary director Masaaki Yuasa, okay. Comes a revisionist rock opera about a 14th century superstar whose dance moves take Japan by storm. So it's apparently based on an actual historical figure from 14th century Japan. They modernize this story basically. This character becomes basically like a rock star or a pop star in a way. The music just sounds like hair metal, death metal at times, stuff like that. So obviously they're not trying to be super accurate, but it is bringing light to the story that, at least for myself, never heard of this dude before. His name is the title of the movie. Never heard of him, have no idea what the story was about. I have no real understanding of the different musical movements within ancient Japan. For that reason alone, okay, cool, pretty original. Not a completely original story, of course, but like the idea of modernizing that, the idea of drawing comparisons to like modern day pop stars, rock stars, things like that. Okay, you've got my attention. And then just the other side of it, as is the case with a lot of Yuasa's work, wow, if you just start watching it, if you're already pretty big into animation, the differences are just so apparent, the unique qualities happening here, but also just, I don't know, individual character designs, how crowds are handled, obviously general character movement. There's just so much going on. There's so much energy in what they're showing here in the trailer. I mean, come on. You've been looking at the footage the whole time, right? Like this is I feel like maybe it's a trend for Yuasa stuff to portray characters, like human characters, in an almost inhuman way, like almost grotesque shapes. Kick Heart in particular takes these sort of typical human figures and turns them into weird caricatures, like the shapes and movements and things are so different from so much that I've seen before. Seems to be a pretty similar case here. Also, there's like a spiritual component, like maybe a deal with the devil or deal with a demon kind of thing going on. So yeah, in terms of variety, maybe a combination of different genres happening in this movie. They also, of course, I mean, it's advertising, so they gave us some pull quotes from different critics and sites and stuff. Apparently it's been doing pretty okay at the festivals where it premiered. It's out in theaters here August 12th. I'm guessing it's not going to be a massive wide release, so you probably have to be somewhere relatively close to like an art house theater or a smaller independent theater, or just live in a big city where you're more likely to get access to it. I have no idea what kind of European release this has, so I apologize to my European friends there. Also kind of funny because the trailer so far, which was released on June 15th here on YouTube through G Kids, only has like 50,000 views at the time of recording. It's not exactly caught up in the hype train as far as I've seen. Even for myself, I mean, obviously I haven't seen the movie yet, so I feel kind of silly telling other people to check it out and maybe actually go see it for themselves. But this is part of my job as far as I'm concerned, trying to direct people's attention to work that they might not already be familiar with and which they might really, really enjoy. If you haven't checked out a lot of Yuasa stuff already, go ahead. Cat Soup is on YouTube in full. In fact, I might have to talk about that one soon and do some further research into the people behind the project. If it appeals to you, if you understand why I get so excited about this particular approach to animation, character designs and all that, then I have a feeling you will at least be interested in Inu-Oh on some level. Who knows, might be a terrible movie. I'll try to talk about it after its theatrical release and really get into details. But for the moment, it's kind of fun just to have the hope and just to think, okay, this could be great. Let's find out. But I guess that's all for now. Thanks for stopping by.